Good evening and welcome to this meeting of the Common Council of the City of Huntington for May 30th, 2023. Prior to the beginning of the business meeting this evening, we'll have an invocation led by Pastor Chris Hayden of Central Christian Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Christy McElhaney. Those who wish to participate may rise at this time.
Let us pray. Father, we just come to you. We know that you are Lord of all, that you're the Lord of Huntington, Indiana. And Lord, we just give you thanks for all that you've done in this city. We thank you for what you're going to do, the many blessings you've poured out on us. Help us, Lord, to put our hearts and minds upon you and know that you direct this city, and we give you freedom to do so. We ask for your blessings on our planning. We ask for your blessings on our resources. We ask your blessing on our people. In your precious name, Jesus, Lord, I pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And with that, we'll call the meeting to order, beginning with a roll call.
Blumeke is absent. Chapman?
Present.
Felton?
Present.
Funk?
Present.
Johnson?
Present.
Marshall absent. Pike?
Present.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is opening a public hearing for Cottage Park and Jessup Streets improvement projects and the Okra grant the city is pursuing in that regard. So I'll invite Director Cuttress up at this time, introduce the public hearing for members of the public to address the matter.
Yes, good evening. As many of you are aware, we've already had one public hearing for this grant cycle for the project of Cottage Park in Jessup. We're looking at a total project cost of $4,400,600 with a maximum Okra grant possibility of $600,000, meaning the city's local match out of the stormwater bond and other city funds would be just over $3.8 million. This project would address a lot of long-standing issues in the Cottage Park and Jessup neighborhoods, including new water mains, a new street, a new fully reconstructed street, new sidewalks, as well as lining the sanitary sewer and installing additional storm sewer to handle the flooding issues that are happening out in that neighborhood. Tonight is the second public hearing for this grant application. We will be having a site visit and meeting with Okra on June 1st, later this week, to discuss the grant. The grant application is due June 30th, with the award announcements expected August 31st. So we hope to know by the end of August if the city was chosen to receive this grant so that we can move forward with this project. There's a sign-in sheet right over here next to Councilman Chapman for the public hearing tonight. So if you haven't signed in already, if you could please sign in before you leave. Those sign-in sheets will be attached along with these meeting minutes and previous meeting minutes to the grant application showing Okra that we have had these public hearings, and if we receive any public comments. We are still looking for any letters of support or pictures from the public related to this project. I have received some, but more is always helpful. I've already discussed the extent of the project. If you council has any questions or the public has any questions related to the grant, I'll be happy to turn it over to Donna, or if questions related to the engineering on the project, I'll turn it over to Phil. But at this time, we entertain any other public comments from council or the public.
Any members of the public here to address the matter this evening? Any comments from council members? Seeing or hearing any at this time? Director Cuttress?
Great, thank you. I think that then would conclude this public hearing.
All right, reminder to everyone to sign in for being present here this evening during the public hearing. At this time, we'll close the public hearing on Cottage Park and Jessup Streets, and we'll open a public hearing regarding additional appropriations requests coming before council this evening. Are there any members of the public here to address council regarding the additional appropriation ordinance? Not seeing or hearing any at this time, and council having time to discuss later on the agenda, we will close the public hearing at this time regarding the additional appropriation. Next item on the agenda is consideration of the minutes from the previous meeting. Is there a motion to open discussion for approval of April 25th, 2023 minutes?
So moved. Second.
Motion and second. Further discussion and consideration of the minutes from April 25th. Not hearing any at this time, we'll call the question in favor of adoption of the minutes as presented for April 25th, 2023. Christie?
Chapman?
Yes.
Felton?
Yes.
Funk?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Pike?
Yes.
Thank you. And then with minutes from May 9th meeting also under consideration this evening, is there a motion to open consideration and adoption?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Further discussion and consideration of the May 9th minutes? Not hearing any at this time, we'll call the question in favor of adoption of the May 9th minutes as presented. Christie?
Felton?
Yes.
Funk?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Pike?
Yes.
Chapman?
Yes.
Move along to reports from committees, boards, or commissions. Charlie?
I have nothing. Thank you.
Paul?
Nothing here.
PJ?
Nothing here.
Todd?
Nothing here.
Dave? Not aware of any petitions or comments from citizens. Charlie, anything?
No, nothing. Nothing
Okay.
this evening. Thank you.
And no considerations under old business. First reading of ordinance 12C23 under new business. Christie?
Ordinance 12C23. This ordinance, if adopted, would provide additional funding to the ARPA Fund, Street Paving Program, and Police Dash Cam and Motorola Radios, Local Road and Street Fund for street paving, MVH for street paving, MVH Restricted for street paving, and the General Fund for street paving. The total additional is $1,998,000.
Is there a motion to open discussion and consideration, first reading of ordinance 12C23?
So move.
Second.
Motion and second. At this time, I'll invite Director Cutress and Chief Boxell forward. We also have Superintendent Bischoff with us this evening as well, if council members have questions. And why don't we lead off with Chief Boxell this evening?
Good evening. Yeah, mine's a little shorter than Adam's, so probably is best that I go first. Appreciate your time this evening. What we're looking to do with the additional appropriation in the funds, as you can see before you, there's two separate projects that we're working on at the police department. The first, the $47,000 appropriation, is specific to Axon in-car camera systems for our police cars. So to be quite frank, the system we had been using is a system called Digital Ally, not to throw them under the bus, but it's kind of an antiquated system. And even back to Chief Hacker's days, his last year there, we did not replace in-car camera systems in our police cars because we knew we wanted to get away from that particular camera system. As I came before you a couple months back and you guys approved for us the body camera package through Axon, I can only speak of high regard for the Axon system. It has been really good for us. So the mayor and I feel confident in moving forward with the Axon in-car camera system as well. It'll help maintain concurrency through our evidence tracking system from a video perspective. Along with that, it'll also provide Wi-Fi networks in each of our cars. So that'll also help us from the body cam perspective, because if there's one hiccup that we have experienced with the body cameras, to be honest with you, it's that our internet service is too slow to upload all the video. So having the Wi-Fi network in the car will allow us that when the officer is within about 60 feet of the car, their body camera will tap into that Wi-Fi network in the car and it will automatically start to upload those body camera videos. So with this particular package, that $47,000 upfront cost will provide us 21 in-car camera systems. So where we came up and developed that number from was where we cut our fleet off at the model year 2017 or newer. There's really no sense. As you guys are probably familiar with our take-home car program, we try to get at least 8 to 9 years of longevity out of our police cars. So we come up with a number of 2017 model year or newer for these new in-car systems. From there forward, we'll just replace in-car systems as we purchase and equip new cars on an annual basis. So those 21 in-car system will essentially cover our entire patrol division right now. As you well know, we're a few officers short. So once we get to full staff, we'll be a few vehicles short in that perspective, but by the time that rolls around, we hope to have some new cars in the next model year of 2024. So that is it for the Axon system. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Yes, sir.
Is the camera, is it just shows the front of the car, or is there another camera in the back that shows around the car?
Great question. So this particular package, without digging too deep in the weeds, is a really phenomenal package for us. It actually supplies 2 cameras in the car. So our caged cars will have a front-facing camera, but they'll also have a cage camera as well and an internal microphone inside the car. If we have a vehicle like our supervisor cars that do not have cages in them, it'll actually have a second camera in the front seat facing the passenger seat in case we're transporting someone in the front passenger seat. Many of you guys remember me coming and talking to you about our Flock ALPR technology cameras that we're utilizing throughout the city, right? So this Axon is partnered with Flock from the ALPR side, the automatic license plate reader technology. So each of these cameras will actually have a dual lens in the front-facing camera. Every one of our police cars will now become an ALPR camera system. So as our cars are out on the streets, they will constantly be reading those license plates to upload into our Flock system, which will be phenomenal for us. Really excited about that package.
So moving forward then, when you purchase new vehicles, you'll budget for the new dash cam, just automatic part of the
Yes, sir.
system?
This is essentially to remove the old system. Axon will come in. This is not going to be a responsibility of our IT department. Axon will come in and put all the new equipment in our cars, which helps us from the warranty perspective as well. Any other questions specific to the Axon system? My second request is for $75,000, and this will help us to purchase 15 in-car radio systems. So one of the challenges that we're working through with our new mobile radios, our new handheld radios, from the encryption standpoint, is the fact that some of our radios in our cars are antiquated and old because radios just don't necessarily wear out. So we don't always purchase brand new radios every time we upfit a new car, right? We take old radios and we move them forward to new cars. So some of our radios don't have that encryption capability. So the challenge that we're working through with that is that, some of our officers are the only radio communication that they have is that portable radio. Not that that's a huge issue, but at the same time, that redundancy is really important when you're a patrol officer and you're out in your marked car. So our initial plan when we went to the mobile radios, or the portable radios, I should say, was that we would just upfit the new radios as we replace police cars. With the assistance of the mayor and him and I talking this through, the additional appropriation of these ARPA funds would allow us to get our entire fleet up to that encryption capability. So that's where we're at with that. The encryption side, one of the things that even Chief Hacker started and he was working towards was providing all of our cars with encryption-capable radios. So one of the learning curves that we found in this whole process as we've transitioned is that there are 2 different forms of encryption. With the blessing of the city, we, in my opinion, are going in the right direction. So all of our mobile radios and our portable radios will have the dual encryption capability, as well as what we call multi-key. So the multi-key factor, and I hate to get too techie on you, but essentially what that does is it allows us, if a neighboring community or county also goes to the encryption, it will allow us to share our encryption with them and them to share their encryption with us so that we can communicate if we have a pursuit or something that goes across county lines. Again, about 17 of our current in-car radios, all the way back to Chief Hacker and then currently through me to this point in time, have all that capability. What we're asking for with this additional appropriation will get our entire fleet up to that standard. Questions about any of that? Hopefully I didn't go too long. Perfect. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Chief. Director Kutchers.
Yes, thank you. All of the monies listed in the additional appropriation that Christie named off for street paving will go towards a number of street paving and improvement projects around the city this year. In front of all the council members, you should have a very brief synopsis of those projects that I provided to everyone. In that list, you'll see the 2023 street and alley paving. That is our annual street and alley resurfacing project that we do. This year, we're looking at around 5 miles of streets and alleys. Stoltz Road, Grag Street, 500 North, that project is actually it is some of a road project, and the rest will be a trail project, which is the connector trail that the city received a $780,000 DNR grant to construct the trail from the university over to the YMCA Crestview. That is being designed simultaneously with Stoltz, Grag, and 500 North to resurface 500 North and reconstruct the intersections of Stoltz, Grag, and 500 North to improve drainage and just overall, all-around improvements to that intersection that have been needed for a little while now. So the next project on the list, probably the biggest one on the list, is Division Street. We are nearing completion of design plans for the complete reconstruction of Division Street from Canfield to Guilford Street. I'm assuming all the council members have driven that at least once recently, and it is deteriorating quickly. This has been a project in the works since 2021. We are nearing completion on this, so we hope to get that out. We anticipate getting that out to bid here this summer. The Gardendale microsurface, Tim Bischoff just recently got Gardendale microsurfaced, which is a preservative method. It applies a very thin layer of asphalt, liquid asphalt and stone chip gravel mixture to bring back the abrasiveness of the roadway for traction purposes, as well as seal up any imperfections in the roadway, giving us a prolonged lifespan on that road. We anticipate anywhere 5 to 6 years of additional lifespan out of that road with that minor $55,000 improvement. And then the last item on the list is pavement markings. There are 5 locations that we're looking to update the pavement markings. A lot of those they have worn away like pavement markings do. So it's just simply time to re-up those. We looked at doing this last year due to availability of materials. It didn't quite get done last year, so it's going to happen this year. We've got a contractor on board. We're just waiting on their scheduled date of when they're coming into town to do it. So we expect that to happen very soon. Be happy to answer any other questions council has regarding any of these projects. But that would cover, that's the reason for the large additional.
When's your anticipated start date then for Division? Because a lot of people are using that street since Jefferson's shut down.
Yeah.
So,
Yep, we expect to have the plans, final review of the plans to happen in the month of June, which would allow us to go out to bid as early as July. So then construction could happen, could start. I don't want to lock a contractor in as busy as contractors are, but theoretically, construction could start as early as August or September.
okay, because they're supposed to be done in September, so maybe if they get early, it won't be so bad.
So, yeah, we're really trying to get that one done. It's definitely a need.
It's bad, yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
So on Stoltz, a couple of questions. First of all, looking at Stoltz from that intersection by the school and the hospital and going south all the way into town, is that all maintained by the city, or is that?
Not all of it. There is a section in the middle there that is county's responsibility. The portion that we're covering under this project is just the immediate areas around the intersection. That in order to address the drainage issues, it requires a full reconstruction of those intersections. They're also deteriorating pretty quickly from all the water that's standing there.
Dave, I see Dave at the Y. We drive through that intersection.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
Yep.
Now, you've got MVH funds and MVH restricted.
Correct.
In general, yeah.
Correct.
What's the restricted fund? Why is it restricted?
So, and maybe Tim can actually answer this question better because he deals with MVH restricted way more in depth than I do, but essentially under state law, we're required to separate a certain amount of funds out but from our MVH funds that we're given every month. We have to separate out a certain portion that has to go directly towards road maintenance, repair, improvements. I don't remember what that percentage is. Is it 50% still? 50-50. It's still 50%. So It has to go into a dedicated fund, and that's what that fund is.
So when you built your budget, are we using our MVH funds first before we got into the general fund?
Yes, there's also, I mean, there's a large amount of additional funding available in the general fund, so,
Right.
but, yes.
Just curious, because, I mean, MVH, that's what take care of the roads. Okay, good. Thank you.
Further questions by council members? Thank you.
Thank you.
Further discussion by council members? Not hearing further discussion or questions by council members at this time, we'll call the question in favor on first reading of ordinance 12C-23. Christie?
Funk.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Pike.
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
Felton.
Yes.
Thank you, council members, and if council has appetite for it, I would appreciate a motion to suspend the rules and allow for second and final reading.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second on suspension of the rules to allow for second and final reading. Further discussion, consideration on suspension of the rules? Not hearing any at this time, we'll call the question in favor of suspension of the rules. Christie?
Johnson.
Yes.
Pike.
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
Felton.
Yes.
Funk.
Yes.
And with that then, is there a motion for second and final reading of ordinance 12C-23?
So move.
Second.
Motion and second. Further discussion and consideration by council members on the additional appropriation request. Not hearing any at this time, we'll call the question for approval on second and final reading of ordinance 12C-23. Christie?
Pike.
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
Felton.
Yes.
Funk.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Thank you. Next on new business is approval of CF1 Real Estate Teijin. Is there a motion to open discussion and consideration?
So move.
Second.
Motion and second. Christie?
Yes, we have several CF1s that the president, which is Charlie, will sign. We have the real estate for Teijin is the new name for CSP. Memcor, Teijin, Clark's, and M&S Industrial are for CF1 personal property. These are compliance of benefits that we've given abatements for these companies, and it's a 10-year abatement, so they're supposed to bring the compliance form back to the assessor's office and myself each year in order to receive their yearly abatement off of their taxes. And so this is the yearly signing of that approval of the CF1s. And the assessors have approved them and looked at them and made sure that they're in compliance as far as the dates and when they fall off of the 10 years. So I had given you a copy of the CF1 from M&S Industrial because they had turned in previous ones that were falling off, but they didn't turn in the new one that they just received a few years ago. So then that's the one we got, and the assessor was approving that. So I just needed approval for that and for Charlie to sign.
Further discussion, consideration by council members. Not hearing it at this time, we'll call the question in favor of approval as submitted. Christie?
Chapman?
Yes.
Felton?
Yes.
Funk?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Pike?
That work for you? Okay. Last item, we do have one thing under miscellaneous that I'm aware of. I want to invite Director Keplinger to come forward at this time, just to brief council on some good news and encouraging news we received for the east side of town.
Good evening. As some of you may already be aware, the city was notified last Thursday that the US EPA has decided to award us $991,000 to assist with the final decontamination of the building at HK Porter and its demolition. And so obviously that's been a long time coming and something I've been involved with for at least 10 years. And so council will remember that shortly last year after the arson fire, that there was consensus for council to sort of earmark a couple $100,000 to help aid in that. We're able in the grant application to leverage that essential commitment. So we'll be going after that. We'll be using some TIF dollars, and then we'll also be applying for blight clearance dollars from the state of Indiana to help fully package all of those funds together and do demolition. And so and cleanup. And so that's important because the EPA grant is for cleanup, not for demolition, and then we can use those other funds. So we're looking at a pretty substantial project. Demolition and cleanup will have to go in tandem. There's no easy way to take that building down given the levels of contamination, including friable asbestos, dust, lead, things like that. And so it's kind of a decon as you demo, because a lot of those pieces, there's different cleaning techniques that you have to do. And so we've evaluated that in part of our grant application when we submitted last year as to what the most economical and efficient way of doing that is, encapsulation, is it wash down? So there'll be a variety of techniques that'll be employed on site, and I won't get into that until we actually come up, formally develop that actual work plan. But good news for that, our plans again are to decontaminate that building, take that main manufacturing building down. It's like 2.5 acres under roof. It's no small feat. And then also our goal would be to remove all of the other building foundations that were there and remove the asbestos parking lot and return that, and any contaminated soil that the EPA leaves. They are supposed to come back next month and start on residential cleanup outside of that grant. But basically give us a blank canvas, if you will, for which we can plan for future redevelopment and reuse. And we'll obviously go through the community input process on those particular things. In the meantime, while we gear up for that grant, it'll be, I don't want to say a long haul, but it's delicate work, and it's kind of an intricate process. So we will also continue to utilize any of the resources that the EPA wants to continue to provide to us on site as they are now. And the Indiana Finance Authority, the Indiana Brownfields Program, has been working all winter doing test wells. The mayor and I were just talking about some results from some February testing and things. And so they're actually doing stuff that is groundwater and subsurface below the building slabs that will help aid us in providing a picture for what we need to do as far as the subsurface, because so far we haven't touched anything below any buildings or asphalt. And so that's the eventual goal. Obviously, dollars only stretch so far, so we'll see how far we can get to that. But that's a win for Huntington, obviously, a win for especially those neighbors and everybody that drives past that thing or has to look at it every day. So kudos to us for that. Any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I'd just like to compliment you and the mayor and your many mayors before, and I just got to council, so I don't know the whole history of it, but many mayors before have just kicked this can down the road and said, oh, somebody else can handle that, and you guys took it upon yourselves to get that cleaned up. Your decision to hire those people working in government, try to get these grants, was a great decision. So I just appreciate the work you guys have done to get this done, because this is really huge, because it's a nasty area. I mean, it's really nice to have that cleaned up, and I'm sure all the people over in that area are going to really enjoy seeing that go down and actually being able to see grass or something nicer than a ugly
a better
old
view.
building.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for your kind words, Todd. It has been a journey, and like I said, it's something that I've been involved with in 10 years, and I know that at least my part in the last 2 administrations, it has been a focus. We've made a lot of progress, but as I like to tell people, it took 100 years to dirty that site. We're at year 10 of actually getting it cleaned up. The first couple years were just kind of assessment and figuring it out. So Rome wasn't built in a day, if you will. But yeah, we're pretty proud of that work. And then Todd, obviously your new role on the Redevelopment Commission, you're going to get a pretty up close and dirty look at how that sausage is made and how we carry out that project. So strap in.
What kind of total time frame are you talking on this?
I haven't received the grant agreement. I think I think we have until 2027 to close out the grant. And so there'll obviously be some compliance monitoring at the end. We're in June already, for lack of a better term. By the time we get the Fed's paperwork and process those sort of things, come up with a work plan, we won't be tearing anything down probably until next year. That's just the way it's going to have to work.
At least the wheels are turning and
The wheels have not, I mean, they stopped turning for COVID for a little bit with the feds, but they've been turning behind the scenes. If you guys knew all the stuff that has went into this site from the last, 4, 6, 8, 10 years, it's a full-time job in and of itself.
I was about to say, thank you for your work on that, too.
Thank you.
10 years is a long time to be working on.
Well, I'll be out there we'll be performing final rites for that building when she comes down. I can assure you of that.
I used
All
to
right.
work out there 100 years ago.
100 years ago, back in 1902 when it started as Rapid Rim. All right, thank you guys.
Grandpa Cavalier.
Thank you, Bryn. Anything else for the good of the order? Not hearing anything at this time, a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, further discussion. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. All opposed, same sign. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.